Welcome to Raiders on the Record, the podcast featuring Hastings High School athletics. I'm Athletic Director Trent Hansen. My colleague Tim Hanneberg and I work together to bring you the stories of Raider sports. We are thrilled to share conversations with the athletes, coaches, and alumni that represent Raider Nation. Check back weekly and be sure to share this podcast with your friends in the Raiders Network.
Coach Paul Armstrong is originally from Burnsville, where he grew up playing soccer, baseball, and basketball. He is a graduate of Burnsville High School, where he competed in basketball and soccer. After high school, Paul attended Luther College, where he played soccer. After graduating from college, Paul coached at the Shakopee Soccer Association, the Blake School, St. Paul Academy, and is now in his first year as a head coach of the girls' soccer team. Here we are with Coach Paul Armstrong. Coach, we always start at the beginning of someone's life. We always like hearing where they grew up, who they grew up with, mom, dad, brother, sisters, all that good stuff. So let's hear about your life. Where did you grow up? Were your parents always from there? Any brothers, sisters? Where did your parents work? Once again, let's get that snapshot of your life growing up.
Yeah, I grew up in Burnsville. My parents still live in the house, which I find awesome. It's still a big central home for our family. I have one sister, Hannah. She is a elementary music teacher in the Minneapolis district. My mom was a church minister of music, so she would go in and plan all the hymns and songs and stuff for church. And my dad is a financial advisor and coach and golf enthusiast. So
Perfect. What do you think one of your earliest or one of your best sports memories was growing up?
We played in a south of the river baseball league growing up, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And we won a couple championships in really cool ballparks like Belle Plaine and Lonsdale. And there's one specific play. It was in the first inning of the Lonsdale one. And everything happened perfectly. There was a play at first base where our shortstop threw it to first base, and then they had a runner on second, and he tried to steal, and the first baseman threw it to the third baseman, and we got a double play to end the inning. And that was just the first time that I saw everything and everyone move in perfect motion, and just seeing that was just amazing and really cool.
Nice. So the next thing we always like to find out with our coaches too is their current coaching role here at Hastings High School. But I think we need to start kind of before then too. So you talked about going to Burnsville, being from Burnsville. Let's kind of walk through that journey of growing up in Burnsville throughout high school. If you want to give us what that looked like for you in high school, where you went to college, if you played any sports in high school and college. And then once again, let's stop right when we get here to good old HHS here, Hastings High School.
Perfect. Yeah. So baseball was my huge sport growing up. That was my main sport. It was my favorite. Played that since Little League all the way through to high school. Had to stop because of concussions, and then I couldn't pick up the pitch from the pitcher. So that really hampered my ability to hit. So I stopped playing baseball. I played basketball from an early age until 9th grade. And then other interests popped up. I played soccer all the way from super little all the way through high school. And when baseball kind of fell off, it just happened to be that I was good at soccer. And so I kind of went with it. Then I went to Luther College, played 4 years of soccer there under Coach Garcia Prats. Really learned a lot of life lessons. He rebuilt that program. It was always a really good program. It dropped off from the top 1 and 2 a couple of years before he got there, dropped to the middle of the pack, and then he rebuilt it into a nationally contending team my senior year and continually going on since then. Right out of college, I got the coaching bug with Shakopee Soccer Association. John Poppin, who was a youth coach of mine, he was the director at Shakopee, and he gave me a call and said, "Hey, you're back from college. Do you want to come try coaching?" And I said, yes. Outstanding experience. I was the director of goalkeeping development there for a couple of years and grew that program. Really amazing learning experience for me of how to work with kids from kindergarten all the way through high school who want to go play in the next level. I got my high school coaching job at the Blake School under Paul Mangy. First as just a goalkeeper coach, and then the assistant coach moved down to Texas when I moved up into that role. Then I was there for 7 years, I believe. And then I went to St. Paul Academy for my first coaching job. Had 1 year there, and then now I'm at Hastings.
Nice. So what kind of drew you to Hastings? I know we're kind of out in the sticks here. I love our high school where we got the Walmart on one side, we got the government center and the cornfields in the back. So what drew you here to Hastings High School?
Just a sense of community. I had been in private schools for high school my entire career. And while there's so many pros to being in the private schools, you miss that sense of community where you're playing for not just yourself, not just your parents, but like a true community. And when you put Hastings across your shirt, it means that much more because everyone is from there, and you're going home to the same communities. You're going, you grow up with these kids down the street from you. And so just having that sense back with what I kind of grew up with was a great calling card for Hastings.
Perfect. So then once again, just walk us through your current role here at Hastings High School. I know we've obviously said a few times you're with the soccer team, but just walk us through once again, your current role here at Hastings.
Yeah, girls varsity coach for soccer. That goes with everything with the varsity team, and then picking schedules for JV and C squad. I've popped down a couple times to work with their squads. The amazing coaches they have down there with Kel O'Leary and Tim Slapnitcher, amazing human beings. It's been amazing to work with them. I've learned a lot from them, and I hope they're picking some stuff up from me. And so just really trying to navigate all three teams has been really fun and really rewarding.
Perfect. So our athletic director, Trent Hansen, always likes to challenge our coaching staff here. And he always asks us why we coach and why we got into coaching and how it feels to be coached by us. So kind of turning the main question around on you, Paul. Why do you coach, and kind of why did you get into coaching originally? What got you? You talked about getting the bug here. So what got you into coaching, and what got you that bug?
I just think looking back at all the great coaches I had, I was really fortunate to grow up with good coaches that pushed me as an athlete, but then also as a human, and just trying to relay those messages that I learned through sports that can be life lessons onto the next generation or next group of players. And then also just working with a group of people trying to achieve the same goal is amazing. You have to have everyone buy in. You have to have everyone give the max amount of effort. And if one little piece doesn't work, then the whole thing falls apart. And so just really making sure that everyone is on the same page and working together and in the right spots and growing together. I love that type of bonding and growth and teamwork.
For sure. I know I coach wrestling, and it's a hybrid kind of between the two where we have a team and we are competing as a team, but it's also a huge individual sport as well. So I feel kind of lucky to be in that hybrid. And I know a lot of kids love playing team sports, and some kids love the individual sports too. So you're coaching a team sport, and like you just said, you got to have everybody on the same page. You can't just focus on that one kid and they can excel. You got to have all your girls on the soccer team going in the same direction here. So being brand new to Hastings, is there any kind of certain skills or anything you're bringing here to Hastings that are really trying to get that all those girls going in the right direction or bringing that team together?
Yeah, this year we've talked a lot about forward thinking and the why behind what we're trying to do. And so there's this one play where there's a breakaway, and I harped on our midfielders for not dropping back. And a player said, well, we're not going to catch that girl. And it's like, of course you're not, but it's about being in the right spot for the next play. And so just that forward thinking idea of always being in the right spot for the if, right? It's if this ball gets past the defender, will I be there? If the ball gets kicked off of a shin, will I be in the right spot to get the ball and then put it in the right spot? So just that forward thinking, always having the right rotations, right? And it's not just an individual thing. It's if this doesn't happen, then this will happen. And so just the chain of events and just making sure we're all in the right spots at the right time.
I think that's pretty cool. I feel like a lot of that forward thinking as an athlete, I know for me personally, took place kind of in college. So I just always look back in high school, man. I just kind of kick myself about what was I thinking and what was I doing out there, and maybe not having those forward thinking skills. And I just know too, just being in college and having those skills or being trained that way. And then I'd come back in my high school room during Christmas or anything like that, and it would just be a slaughter. These kids just aren't to that level there in high school. So that's pretty neat that you're kind of already instilling those maybe post high school values of sport and that kind of forward thinking and thinking about that next step in these girls now. That's pretty neat to do at this age. So
Yeah, thanks. And again, it's a life lesson as well. It's not, doing one thing, it's doing one thing because it will lead to X, Y, and Z. And so hopefully that is translated in what we're doing.
for sure. One thing that I always like to ask our coaches that we interview to is growth, so is there anything that you can remember or maybe something you do now as a coach that you really wish you did when you first started off? So something you thought you needed to do when you first started off and you're just like, man, that was just not the case at all. I didn't need to act like that or kind of instill those values in the kids or do a certain thing, or kind of on the flip side, something that you're doing now as a older, more mature coach, more seasoned coach that you're like, man, if I would have done this kind of when I first started off, things might have been a little bit different. So is there anything for you like that in your current coaching position or the way you think about things?
Yeah, it's the relating to why. It's not just you have to be in this position. It's making sure they understand why. Like in that example, it's not that she had to go run down that person with the ball. It's so that you're in the right position so we can go back up the field. And so just I wish I would have known that earlier and just done a better job with that versus just, hey, you have to be here. Just making sure that the athlete knows why and making sure that they can then take that information and then think for themselves.
For sure. Once again, yeah, exactly what you just said, that forward thinking. And I think a lot of us, I just interviewed one of our coaches, Tom Fritzy, and he was just talking about the X's and O's, and I think that's kind of what you're talking about. Maybe when we first start, we're just really focused on those X's and O's and maybe proving that we know the plays and proving that we can teach the plays. And maybe that kind of what comes off of those too, So once again, that's pretty cool for those girls to be learning that right now at an early age. Kind of an impossible question to ask you because there's probably so many rewarding things. And what do you think maybe one of the most rewarding things has been so far in your coaching career, or maybe your short tenure so far here in Hastings?
At Blake, there was this girl who loved soccer and she went on to go play at a D1 school, and she was just working on free kicks and free kicks and free kicks and free kicks. Literally, we spent almost 45 minutes after every Monday training working on free kicks. And then when it came to it, there was about a minute left in our section final, and she just belted one. And to see all of that work and dedication to this one little thing that happens, maybe once a game, if not two, really come to fruition. That was so rewarding to see this kid succeed and to see that go in.
Nice. Another thing that Trent always asks us is defining success. So, I always ask the kids about that. I interview on here, but kind of turn it around you, Coach. How would you define success? And obviously, there's many different ways that we can do it, but and you could define it in relations to soccer or coaching generally. So, how would you define success, and what does it mean to you?
I just think growth. If you are the same team that you start off at the beginning of the season to the end, whether it's sport wise or people wise or relationship wise, then you didn't do your job, right? You've got to grow in, if not two, if all three. And so making sure that you grow as a team, the bonds as a team, making sure the people grow, or the players grow as people, and then making sure the team grows on the field as well.
For sure. So you grew up in Burnsville. You've also played at Luther. I'm sure there's a lot of coaches growing up as well before that you really looked up to and had a positive impact on your life. Once again, maybe almost an impossible question to answer, but if you have a couple people, you can go for it. But who's a coach that really had a big impact on your life? Someone you really admire, or maybe someone that really taught you something that really stuck with you and helped you get into coaching, or kind of made you see how important sports can be in your life. So who do you think that coach is in your life?
Is it okay if I list a couple?
Oh, let's hear it. I would love it.
All right. First off, Chris Garcia Pratt's down at Luther, played for him for 4 years, but just he was the first person to let me know, like, it's okay to be tired. And like, that's what it takes to get to that next level. Every other high school coach was always like, yeah, if you put your best in, blah, blah, blah. But he was the first person to say, he defined what your best was. He really turned that program around just from having a high expectation of effort. He didn't yell at us on execution. He didn't get on us about missing a pass. He got on us about effort. Mm-hmm. And I really take that into my coaching, because you never know what's going to happen with a soccer ball, if it's going to get a bad bounce or, whatever. And professionals make mistakes all the time, but you can always control your effort. You can always control your attitude. And he really instilled that in me. And it definitely turned that program around. And I hope that it can do the same thing for this one. Paul Mangy at the Blake School was a huge mentor of mine. He was the first coach that I worked side by side in the high school ranks, and he was amazing at the relationship side of soccer. Every one of his teams, every girl would run through a brick wall for that man. And the way that he managed personalities and managed a high school team was something that I look up to. And amazing soccer nonetheless. We won a lot with him, but more so on the managing people side. So that was really cool. And then I guess just my dad too. He was my basketball coach, my baseball coach, soccer up to a point. And there were so many times when we would come home after a practice or a game and just talk for hours about what went right, what went wrong, how do you fix it, why do you do what you do as a coach, in terms of putting people in the right places to make sure they succeed, making sure that also benefits the team. So just learning that side of it, making sure everyone feels like they have a role, even though, we were talking about third graders, right? Or mm-hmm. more so like junior high kids, where there's a huge skill gap, but everyone on the team felt like they had a role and they did it to their best of the ability. And we had really good teams growing up with traveling basketball and traveling baseball. And so just trying to make sure everyone feels valued on a team. I definitely learned from him.
Nice. Do you think that once again kind of helped you get in the coaching frame of mind, all those conversations with your dad, just kind of maybe seeing a different side of the sport versus just you playing in that specific sport and what you have to worry about versus everything else that's kind of going on at one time?
Yeah, 100%. Because you see firsthand him try to balance everything. and you see how much joy he got as a coach when another person succeeded. Yes, it was like his team, but we had to go out there and win. And it was, we talk a lot about almost like a helplessness feeling when you're a coach, and the transition from being a player where you're in the game and you can dictate stuff. And then when you're a coach, it's a step back and you have to rely on the preparation that you put with your players. But it's also a helpless feeling and hoping that what you taught stuck, and just knowing that, trusting what you put in preparation is going to work out, and then just trusting your players to go out there and do it, and then when it succeeds is just an outstanding feeling.
For sure. I know that's one thing that we've kind of preached on to, kind of rewinding back to your college coach as well over at Luther, is just CTC, controlling the controllables too, and focus on your effort and your attitude and your preparation and things of that nature. And we always talk about too, is focusing on the process and not the outcome. And exactly what you just said too, if, that ball takes a bad bounce and goes in the goal and you guys lose 1-0 or 1-0, as you guys might say in the soccer world here, so if you guys lose 1-0, are you the worst team? Definitely not. If you score that lucky, your ball gets that lucky bounce and you score and you win 1-0, are you the best team? Definitely not either. So it's just that outcome. Was it your best effort? Did you have a good attitude the whole time? So focusing on those things, which is the process versus that outcome in the score, is not really, indicative or doesn't say all about what the girls on your team or the boys on another team, doesn't really say everything about them either. So I love how you got to kind of taste of that early on in your college career, and kind of stuck with you too, it seems like.
Yeah. And going back to that growth as success, you have to take baby steps throughout a season. You have to identify the first thing that you're going to work on. And then once that's checked off, then you go to that next thing and that next thing, and you keep raising the bar. And yeah, it's exactly what you're talking about.
For
They're
sure.
just enjoying the process and understanding it, and then hoping that it all clicks at the end of the season when playoffs roll around.
For sure. So you've coached in Shakopee, you've coached at the Blake School, St. Paul Academy, and then here in Hastings. You've worked with a lot of different people, and it might be a name that you've already named, but who do you think is someone that you've worked with? It could be an assistant coach, it could be a head coach that you worked for, that's had a positive impact on your life. So once again, you've named a couple names already. If you want to go back to them, you can, or if you want to name someone else, you definitely can. So someone that has really had a positive impact on your life, or maybe you've seen something that they've done and you're like, man, that is awesome. And you kind of try to employ those skills or characteristics in your own coaching.
Yeah, definitely John Poppin down at Shakopee. He has built an amazing program with their traveling association, and he's doing it for the right reasons. He's doing it to help kids left and right, and yeah, and now he's starting to see the results on the field as well, of years and years of work with the youth. So that's amazing, and something that I definitely want to get into. And then Kelsey Hans at Minnetonka, I coached with her for 2 years at Blake. Just holding everyone to a reachable but very high standard of everything across the board. Yeah, those two have been amazing for me, and I look up to them a lot in the high school soccer world.
Sweet. So you've been in Hastings for a little bit of time, so you might not have a great answer for this next one, but that's okay. Just maybe you want to answer in your short time here, or it could just be maybe an event too. So I always like hearing from our alumni, our current kids, and our coaches who their favorite opponent is to play against. And then maybe our individual sports too. I like those guys that they maybe talk about an event, somewhere that they really went to, like a conference tournament or the section tournament that really brought the best out of them. So has there been an opponent so far this year that's really that you look forward to? You kind of circled that one. You knew that was going to be a good one. You circled it a few times on the calendar that you really look forward to playing, or is there something maybe being brand new here to Hastings that you're just kind of maybe getting your feet wet a little bit and then kind of growing in the future?
Yeah, playing Hill Murray was super fun for us. They're a really good program. The conference goes through them and Matamidi, and Matamidi is the last game on our season, so we have yet to play them. But it was always we were gonna grade ourselves on that game. We ended up winning 2-1. It was the first game that we put together in a full 80 minutes of full soccer, of up and down the field, covering for each other, stepping when we were supposed to. It was an outstanding game, outstanding performance by our girls, and I think now going forward that'll always be the benchmark, which is excellent. But it takes playing against a really quality opponent to get that out of yourselves. Like, just because it's a private school, there's tons of friendships. People know each other here and there, and it's like, hey, this girl does this. I hung out with her last week. So that was kind of cool for the girls. Then the park one that's coming up on Saturday. I think I keep hearing about this amazing rivalry, and I'm very excited to experience for the first time. Whether that means you hit each other hard, or it means we're just gonna. I don't know. I'm just excited for it.
We'll see what happens.
Then event. I'm excited to attend a Hastings football game. I hear that the entire town shows up, and it's just a great experience and atmosphere. So we're definitely gonna go support them, and yeah, I'm excited for it.
Sweet. Yeah, the park rivalry is one that if you talk to alumni, that's the one that always seems to pop up, and it's kind of sad. Maybe that's kind of fizzled away in recent years, and then other sports too. St. Thomas has really peaked in boys hockey and football. That really seems to be the one. But that park one would be really cool if we could kind of reignite it in a lot of our sports here. So looking forward to that one here. So, Coach, I got a couple questions here at the end here for you. So, talking about your experiences as a high school athlete, you were a college athlete as well at Luther. You've coached for over a decade now at the high school level as well. So, thinking about all those different experiences, if you could talk to your parents and coaches, not just your parents or coaches, or any parents and coaches, and give them a couple pieces of advice, what do you think it would be and why?
Oof. Trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially with the new coach, people want to see results right off the bat. I mean, you see this in professional sports all the time. If a new coach comes in and doesn't get results, then, people are howling for their job. And it's just about more than results as well. And so just checking in with your athlete if they're having a good time. And then if it's translating to the field too, making sure that those two things go hand in hand. Yeah, I would say that just checking in with your athlete and then trusting the process.
Perfect. Same kind of thing now for student athletes. So these could be the young girls kind of in the stands now, the ball girls on the side of the on the sidelines here at the soccer games. So those future athletes you're going to have in soccer, or maybe any athlete too that wants to come up and play at a varsity level. If you had to give those kind of kids two pieces of advice, what do you think it would be and why?
You mentioned it before, control the controllables. You can always control your effort and attitude. You can't control the opponent, the atmosphere, what have you, but you can control what you do and what you give. And that's one thing that I hope to base this program off of going forward. And then just knowing that you're playing for something bigger than yourself. It's bigger than individual stats. It's about the team. And you might have a different role on the team than you might have wanted. But as long as the team is doing well and the relationships are good and the vibes are good and it's a positive culture, then that's okay. And then it's okay to put aside personal goals for the growth of the team.
Perfect. Coach, that's all the questions I got for you. We always turn the microphone over to our guests here. So anything else you want to talk about? Anything I forgot to ask you? Anything that you really want to get off your chest, you can go for it. You can also give any shout outs you want to anybody else. So like I said, this last couple minutes is yours and you can go for it.
I just want to say thank you to the Hastings community. since I was hired back in the winter. Amazing welcome. Everyone has said, what can we do? How can we help? How can we XYZ? And that is a very rare thing. So I just want to say thank you. Special shout out to everyone in the girls program, coaches, players. This has been a special team, a special year so far, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.